happens. So the topics that you've got today then for us, Nikki, are
Our dreams
mm,
and um, yeah, just a few other small little things.
okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that in my book I was speaking about a very bizarre dream that I had, um, and this dream happened within I think a couple of weeks from my old man dying, and this dream was a very, very spiritual dream. It was in full Technicolor, and there was a very Jesus like essence to my father. And the dream was that I saw him walking kind of like in my direction, not looking at me, not really towards me, just walking with no intent or purpose. And he was barefoot. He had a denim shirt on, open to his navel, and he had denim flared jeans on, and long black curly hair and short black beard. Now, I had him down for being about 30, 35 maximum. So he was in his prime then, and the denim thing and the flares, that was the 70s, obviously. So it was
Yeah.
mid 70s, maybe early 70s. And he had his palms facing forward, both of them facing forward like this, like when we see lots of pictures of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so barefoot is indicative of the dead. Palms face forward is indicative of openness. And how many tribes have done this in the past? Whenever they meet other tribes, they show their empty hands
Yeah.
and they keep them in front where they can be seen. Really, really important for openness. And so I saw the countenance on my old man's face, and it was completely at peace, absolutely at peace. And so, albeit it was an image of my father, the essence was of Jesus. And I took from that dream that he's absolutely perfect. And so when people start speaking about, the afterlife, and one of the questions, of course, I always ask is, well, what age do we manifest there?
Mm.
Because for instance, he had a daughter, one of my sisters, who died when she was one. How would my daughter perceive him? Or what age? Then,
Right.
let's say someone who knew my father only in the latter years, and then when they both died, they end up in heaven. How would they perceive each other? I mean, I perceive my father from a particular year that I knew him, because he was like that when I was born. And lots of other, I saw him get older and more infirm.
Mm.
So, how would we manifest? That's the question I'd like to ask you.
Right.
How would we manifest? People say, "Oh, you manifest in your prime." Why? So
Yeah.
when I saw my father, and he was walking like Jesus and looking very, very spiritual. And it was one of these super, super spiritual dreams where I was absolutely conscious when I was there. And it was so technical, it's more real than real. And that had a very profound effect upon me. And I would say that I was the closest to my dad out of all of us kids. And I had a working relationship with him. I had a, a comedic relationship with him. We laughed about lots of things, and we had a respectful relationship, and so it was pretty bonded. And so I had that experience, which nobody else spoke about having a dream about the old man, even at the funeral and the wake or after. And I'm like, well, why me again? And then I had another dream. I think I mentioned it in the book, where I saw him when he was dead, and he was lying in his coffin, and there was an arc of photos all around his head, and they were all different photos from us kids at different ages and periods and things, and it was like a rainbow over his head, which was indicative that this man was a good father,
Okay, yeah.
and that was his epitaph. Beautiful, fun times, which he afforded the kids. So yeah, that's the intro then to that. So what did you take from that, and do you have something you
Well,
about?
I've had a similar experience.
Right.
I had my grandfather visit me
Mm.
in a dream after he passed, and it was the same thing. It's hard to describe it, but I knew that it was real, that I was actually with him and talking to him.
Right.
And yeah, it's so hard to describe how I knew that it wasn't just any other dream.
Yeah.
But some of the ways you mentioned, like the Technicolor, just the crispness of it, like it didn't seem so much like a dream that was a little bit more fuzzy, but that I was actually there talking
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah. Well,
And
go
I was just going to say the reason he came to me then, it was, I don't know, probably not even a week after he passed. He had gone into the hospital for something sort of minor. And my mother kept saying, "Well, I'll take you next time to go visit him. We'll take you next time." And she went just for a meeting with the hospital. And I said, "Well, take me now and I can just sit with him while you're in the meeting and just be with him." And she said, "Oh, no, I don't want to come get you. So I'll take you next time." And then he passed away while she was there in the meeting with the
right.
hospital. So I was completely distraught and felt guilty that I didn't get to see him and say goodbye because we didn't expect him to die at that point. It wasn't something that should have killed him. So it was just a shock that he even passed, and then that I didn't get to say goodbye. So he came to me in a dream to tell me that it was okay, that he understood why I didn't get to come say goodbye,
Right.
and that I shouldn't feel guilty because he knew that I wanted to and how much I loved him and that it was all good. So stop, feeling bad about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, it was definitely him there, but he appeared to me in the form I knew him at the time that he passed, like as the older
Right.
man.
Right.
And funny enough, my grandmother was with him. He was laying in bed when I was with him. I assume because he would have been laying in bed in the hospital if I went to see him. And my grandmother had passed about a year, maybe a year and a half before him. So she was also with him in the dream, but she was just sitting on the edge of the bed. She didn't say anything to me at all. So
Right.
I assumed she had no message for me, but he did. So
Yeah.
thankfully he came to me that way because I woke up, I knew it was an actual conversation. It was so real and all the guilt was gone and I felt at peace about him going. So it was
Yeah.
amazing.
I told my siblings that um, there's no reason why anyone should feel sad about our man's passing. He killed himself, so he wanted to go, and it was his third attempt. And I said, um, he's perfect now. Where
Mhm.
I saw him, the whole countenance and everything is perfect. And if that was a place, then it most certainly, seemed it was a place, that it felt like it was a place, it looked like it was a place, so meaningful and everything. And I'm like, well, look, um, I didn't have any guilt about his dying. I was very. I mean, how old was I? 50. And he told me he wanted to end it so many times, and he was so depressed, and we didn't see each other that much in the latter years, albeit I was very close with him progressively, but he got more and more difficult to engage with, um, the older he got, because he's always depressed. And
Mm.
uh, so there's no reason why I would have that beautifying thing to settle me, because I'm like, oh, well, he was 67 or 73. I don't know how old he was. He was old enough.
Yeah.
um, Probably 73, something like that. And he'd been wanting to die for the last 10 years at least. And so he'd gone where he'd wanted to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've no idea why I had those visions. But I go on when I'm speaking about dreams in the book, and I'm saying I think these dream worlds are real worlds. I think they are parallel dimensions, and
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, they are going on all the time alongside ours. And I think um, that during certain mental conditions, um, we can enter into
Mm.
these parallel worlds to see these people. And I suppose it's kind of like, how were you thinking about them during your Earth days? And then, for instance, if I was speaking to somebody about my old man today, and then tonight I go to dream and I see him, well, that's kind of like, oh, well, he was on your mind, and that
Yeah.
very well may have had something to do with it. But what I do know is that whenever I have seen him many, many times in the dream world, he is acting completely normal, like he's not dead, because in that dream world, he isn't dead. He's got his life, and he's in a different place, and he's doing similar sort of things, but the same sort of things. And I go there, and it's like I'm there as well, and I've always been there. It's not like, oh, uh, oh, Aaron, or it's like you've seen an apparition or anything like that. It's perfectly normal, and I engage with him whatever he's doing. And because he was like always working on cars or buildings or that sort of thing, then we used to do that together. So I'm always doing that, and so all my life he was kind of like my guru. I learned a great deal from him. But more than that, he became my archetype for work, because we that's the main body of our relationship. We shared that working thing together. It
Okay.
wasn't like father and son. It was like working mates.
Right.
That the thing. It was a different relationship, and I never mentioned, oh, you're my dad, and oh, it's great to be working with my dad, and he never said, come here, son, and all that. I used to call him the old man or the old fella, and he used to call me, a nickname. And it was kind of like, well, it was a detachment from the father and son thing. So every time I do see him, he's always still being industrious, and I go back, and it appears that I go back to see him whenever I'm thinking about being industrious. Kind of like, oh, let me
Hmm.
just run this one by my dad.
Yeah.
Because that's what I always used to do. Whenever I was doing anything in business, getting along fine, I'd go back for his approval.
Mm.
Albeit, more and more as I got older and older, he wouldn't give me approval. He wouldn't give me anything. In actual fact, he'd take everything away from me. So, do you have any, like big dreams or things you can piece
Well,
together
it's
meaning?
I was gonna mention as well, my father passed away about 7 years ago. And since then, he's come to me in dreams, but he doesn't really speak to me.
Mm,
He's just there. So things that our family would do together, typically like, Christmas or barbecue, where we're all together, he's just there in the dream. Like I'm dreaming that we're doing something as a family. And he's
yeah,
there. He comes out from the house or something, and nobody seems shocked that he's there,
yeah,
knowing that he's dead. And it's like old times. But yeah, he doesn't ever speak to us. He's just there. And I figure that's him telling me that he is just always there when we're together as family, just, hanging out with us too and watching over us. And
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you see, I'm not fixed about any particular way these things work. I'm open-minded, and in the book, I investigate quite a lot about, what things could be, because whenever we've known someone that's been important in our lives, they are always with us.
yeah,
And they never go away. And so, why should they go away in our dreams? And so,
right.
when we go into an unconscious state and then dream imagery is coming and it's family and it's from that period, well, of course, dad's going to be there. Dad was there.
Yeah,
So there's nothing weird about that, and I don't think there's any subliminal messages that we need to get. And I've never considered that I've been given a subliminal message or anything like that. Um, I just look at these places as if they are always there, and they can come into our um, worlds, dream worlds, and we can go into theirs. And so there's been lots of times where I've sort of felt like there was a difference between I went to that person's dream world, or on an occasion that person came to mine. That
right,
person purposely infiltrated my dream spectrum, you know,
right.
and
Like I would say that my grandfather did that for me.
right,
Whereas maybe I'm visiting my father where he is with, his dream world of the family gathering or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. So yeah, it's very fascinating.
And it's funny because I don't take stock in any other normal dream. Like,
Right.
unless it's something that feels like it's more than a dream, that's when I start to question, like, is there a message there? But
Yeah.
any other normal dream, yeah, I never question it as a message.
No. So in that chapter I was writing in the book, um, I was speaking about that when I go to see him, I'm always conscious that I'm dreaming and he's dead. He doesn't know he's dead, and he doesn't think I'm coming from another dimension. He doesn't know
Right.
I'm coming from another dimension because the bizarre thing is when we enter into a dream world and we go back in time or whatever, our homunculus, our dream avatar, makes manifest in another um, dream avatar in that dream, and it could be one of much younger. So, for instance, if your dad's been dead 20 years, well, you go back and you're 20 years younger. He doesn't know that. He doesn't act any different at all. But very often I've been lucid where I've been working with my dad and I've been thinking, wow, this is so amazing. This is so brilliant because he's actually dead. But I can come back, or I can come into another parallel dimension where he's not dead. He's alive. And that's the thing. It's kind of like, no, he doesn't appear to be dead. There's nothing that feels like he's dead here. So in this dimension, he's still alive. And so then I start putting lots of pieces together, and there's lots of speak these days about parallel universes and how all these multiverses they just separate, on an ongoing basis, on and on and on and on, infinitely. Well, I'm thinking, well, I mean, if that's the case, and some very, very intellectual quantum physicists say these things, and lots of spiritualists have said these things. And I don't doubt it because I think this cosmos is vastly too complex for there just to be one thing and one
Yeah.
conscious dimension, particularly in view of the fact that I've been into a whole myriad of conscious dimensions in other worlds and things like that. And so I think there are parallel dimensions, and I think everybody that's existed is still existing because all that happens is when someone dies within our they leave this dimension, but the dimension where they're alive still continues.
Right.
It, it just breaks off. and it has to break off to keep some sort of rational structure. Because
Okay.
if people didn't die or if they came back and all these different sort of things, it'd get just too weird and we couldn't take any of it seriously. But I think, well, because we're all spirit, there's no reason. Well, we don't die. Spirit doesn't die, and because
Mhm.
there's no physical matter, there's no reason why there shouldn't be infinite dimensions and parallel universes.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And so, on other occasion, lots of occasions, I dream about my best friend. And when I'm dreaming about him, uh, I really missed him. I really missed this guy. He was truly a very good friend. And he was a hypnotherapist and, a philosopher, psychoanalyst, and an intellectual. And we spent, years in this level of discussion. And so when he died, it was a great loss. And when I go to see him, the thing is I'm absolutely in the belief that he hasn't died. And in the dream, I'm like, I thought you died, man. I dreamt you died. I'm telling him I dreamt you died. And he's like, I ain't fucking died, man. And I'm like, wow. And I feel such a release. I feel, wow, that's incredible. It's the reverse of the effect when you wake up and you realize that it was a dream. Oh, psst. They're both dreams, but this one we seem to spend more time in, and it seems more real because we come back from that one. But when I was there, I was absolutely convinced that he hadn't died, and it felt so wonderful. Have you ever had anything like that?
Um, yeah, I've had a dream like that once with my dad. Normally, I just sort of acknowledge that like he shouldn't be here, but he's here, so that's cool. But no one else says anything. But one time, I had a dream that I was in a store, and I turned a corner to go down the next aisle, and he was standing in the aisle shopping. And at that point, I was shocked to see him because I thought, like, you're supposed to be dead. How are you here shopping?
Ah, yeah, 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 and that's the thing, isn't it? When you get confused like that, when you actually really buy into the dream, and then you remember his dream, it's 'cause you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
So then, have you seen the film? Um, oh,
Inception.
Inception. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, it was years ago though, so
yeah, me too. But um, in that movie, they are entering other people's dreams
yeah.
knowingly. They purposely set out to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, look, people have been writing about this stuff for a long time. And I'm an adherent that that is possible. I do think if you want it so bad, if you set your minds so bad, you can then enter into a living person's dream world. Um,
Okay.
because, people can do this in the astral plane. Uh, and whenever I've been in the astral, I know that I'm in the astral.
Okay.
And I'm like, all these people around me, they don't know that I'm Aaron from the third dimensional plane. They think I'm Aaron in that plane. And
Okay.
they've never ever called my name, but they know exactly who I am. They're very familiar with me. And
Okay.
I look at them and I don't know them. All these astral
Hmm.
avatars, I don't know them, but they know
But
me.
they know you.
Yeah,
Strange.
yeah.
So what do you think that means?
Well, it reminds me of that movie, Being John Malkovich.
I love that movie.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he falls through this hole in the wall and he ends up in another person's consciousness.
Yeah.
And the person's consciousness he ends up in, he knows. So he knows what they're doing and what they're thinking.
Right.
Yeah. So you see, this is what I've done all my life. Um, Having all this experience of all the movies and all the books and all the stories and things like that, and then having my own experience, and then knowing that the people that wrote these books and stories have to have had these experiences too,
Yep.
because they're so close to the bone.
Yeah. That's what
And
I figured when I was reading those sections of your book about the dreams, because I had experienced similar things. So I
yeah,
knew you know what you're talking about.
yeah.
You've been there.
So therefore, then I listen to lots of people who are convinced that dream worlds are real worlds, and I know some people that can enter at will into other people's dream worlds, and they can meet people in the astral, or they can go and see these other people when they're in this world, but they're in the astral and they're invisible to the people in this world. And so they can tell them, what they were wearing or what bed clothes
Mm,
were on the bed, and things like that. And then, of course, there's stuff like remote viewing, an
yeah.
ESP, and all different sorts of things like that, mind reading and telepathy. There's a whole bunch of stuff
Yeah.
that without doubt, is very, very valid.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and so for those who are interested in dreams, there's two really, really important books, and they're the most important books that I've ever read, and probably the world has ever read. And these books were written by Sigmund Freud um, and Carl Gustav Jung. Now, Freud and Jung worked together for many years. They were very, very close. Um, and they both wrote their interpretation of dreams. And Jung's is very highly premised on the libido, the sexual energy and sexual symbolisms and all that. And Jung got much more into the mystical and symbolic, alchemical sort of facet. So if people are really interested in learning about dreams, if they read Jung on dreams and Freud's interpretation of dreams, then they'll be well equipped to do that.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'll have to check those out.
Mm. You see, when we read big books like that, they change our world
Oh, for sure.
because they take us into a whole new dimension
Yeah.
of consciousness. And so I was watching something a couple of nights ago, and there was someone. He's Donald Hoffman. Donald Hoffman is a professor, a physicist, and a scientist, and he's got his hypothesis, which is groundbreaking if it proves to be true. And the math apparently stands up. And of course, in all the scientific realm, it's the math that has the credibility. And so when he's explaining it to people who are interviewing him, I can see that they are not in his bubble of consciousness. And so when I'm always speaking about concentric circles of consciousness, and those who are in the inner circles, they can't see out. They
Right.
can see in if there's 1 or 7 or 20 circles within their circle, they can see uh, because they've experienced that. Because when you drop a pebble in the water, the ripples go out. So you've traveled that trajectory. You've had all those conscious experiences, but
Right.
you haven't had the one outside of yours because that was dropped by another pebble. Now, when Donald Hoffman is speaking, he's saying, look, this hypothesis, it means that we go outside space time. and space-time was deemed to be fundamental. For a long, long time, it's supposed to be absolutely fundamental, and there's nothing outside of space and the time within it. But what Donald Hoffman's saying is that there is another dimension, and when you enter into that other dimension, there is no time and space. It's just
Okay.
pure consciousness. And I'm like, wow, now you're talking. Now you are inspiring me, and you're tweaking levels inside my mind, which I know to be true. I know these places to be true because I've been there. I've
Right.
experienced them. And so when you have a physicist who's written all these equations in math and say they absolutely exist, well, I mean that's quite something. But you
Hmm.
see, the physicists, they come at it from a mathematical perspective, and they can explain it from the mathematical perspective. But Donald Hoffman isn't explaining it from an experiential perspective. I can explain it from an experiential perspective, but Donald Hoffman says, I can't listen to you if you
Yeah.
do that. You have to write something down so we can all check it.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've wrote down these equations. My genius mathematical friend has checked the math and he says it's feasible. So that's what I do because I'm a scientist. This is what Donald Hoffman's saying. But
Hmm.
I'm saying, Donald, you have to wake up to the fact. But he is aware of it. He knows that Buddhists and spiritualists and all different sorts of people have had crazy, outlandish experiences. And he says, I'm not doubting them. All I'm saying is I can't give them any credence because that's not my bag,
Yeah.
you know? And so then we have to know then that all these different varieties of consciousness are happening at the same time. And some see vastly deeper and more expansive than others. And so getting back to the point I was making was when these two people were interviewing Donald Hoffman, just by the questions that they were posing, I could see, and I sensed it from Donald Hoffman trying to be as respectful as he possibly could. He was like, "You just don't get it, do you? You are just not in the ballpark." And it's plain to see. And I'm like, that's been one of the major frustrations of the latter years of my life. When I speak to people, I can see absolutely as clear as a bell that they're not in the ballpark. They're not in
Right.
my state of consciousness. So frustratingly, I'm like a voice in the wilderness, crying, crying, crying to see who's in my club, who's in my vibration. And as it happens, very few people are. Very few people are in Donald Hoffman's. Very few people are in Tom Campbell's. Very few people were in Albert Einstein's. And, it's not necessarily like I'm putting myself in like a genius spectrum. It's just a different spectrum outside of other spectrums.
Right. Yeah. Like outside of the average, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I made a video today, only I didn't put it up because I spoiled it in the end. But as I have the propensity to do, but most of the videos I spoil, I just put them out there, and people will make their own minds up. But I- a singing tutor was telling me that they'd discovered something. All his life, this singing tutor wanted to sing, and he wasn't gifted in any shape or form. And he was learning from all of these tutors. And throughout all these years, they've been telling him to do it one way. And he realized that he wasn't getting anywhere doing it that way. And so he decided that, well, he's going to make it or break it. He's going to try doing it another way. And he started to do it another way, and that way paid off. And what the most singing tutors say is, don't strain your voice, don't ever strain your voice, just be gentle. And it's kind of like, wherever do you apply that philosophy? Not in any sport, not not
No.
not not in any vocation. You push the boundaries to the max if you're going to achieve anything. And so it had to be wrong. But you see, it wasn't wrong for these singers who said that because they could already sing. They came in at the level where they could already sing, and their vocal cords were perfectly formed, and they had a natural range of 3 or 5 octaves, and all they needed to do was tweak it a little bit. They've
Yeah.
got no idea what people like me, who will barely have 1 octave, and anything they say I can't do. They've got no idea. They've got no consciousness. And so he saw that. He saw that. They didn't see that. They can't see it. And these people teaching this way are 98 or 99% of vocal coaches out there. They're in the muggle domain of consciousness,
Yeah.
whereby a few people, and it's always those that have never had any skill and never had any gift, they've just thought, fuck it, I'm going to rip my throat to pieces, or I'm going to learn to sing. One of the two is going to happen. And then, as it turns out, that they start to make progress in the singing. So it's a different level of consciousness. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
So that was a beautiful thing for me, because I realized that was very similar to what I've been doing all my life, because my consciousness already came in at a high level,
Yeah.
and I couldn't understand. I've been saying for years, don't you guys get it? Why don't you put any comments down? Why aren't you intrigued by this stuff? Are you fucking idiots? And I got really frustrated, and I'm still like that today. And so what I do today is I'm throwing a fire in the hole in one last ditching attempt to see if I can extract anybody out of it. Because to me, it's a fucking waste of space. Dealing with the masses is a complete waste of space. So I'm striking dynamite and I'm throwing it in the fucking hole. And if anything comes out of it before it blows up, great. That's the result. If not, there's nothing there in any case.
Right.
So do you see
So
that when you watch my videos?
do I see what?
Do you see that? Do you see how potentially destructive I am purposely?
Yes. Yeah.
And what do you think about that?
Um, I don't know. I wonder if it's a bit of like self-sabotage purposely, maybe like a fear of success or pushing people away, seeing who comes back, a
Yeah,
test, I guess, in
yeah,
a
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Um, Also, just a call out to the real souls. Trying to resonate with someone like the way I felt when I first found you. That there was something different. There was something there that I wanted to speak to.
yeah.
And then when you started calling people out, I thought, well, if you want to talk to, then let's do it.
So
So
the three things you've just said, you've hit the nail on the head on all of them, and there are many more, because these things are very, very subtle. There's lots of psychological things at play, but they are most certainly, major facets of what's going on. And it's kind of like, well, I wasn't born to be nice to anyone. I just wasn't. It's not my nature. Not in a false environment. This is a false environment. I don't know anybody out there unless I've spoken to them. I don't even know if they're real human beings. Why would I
right.
feel the necessity to be their underdog, to be licking up to them and minding my p's and q's and not wanting to upset anybody? No, I want to upset every single person I meet. Because if
Yeah.
they can't stand the heat, then they should get out this fucking kitchen.
Right. Yeah.
I'm on a mission. I'm on the mission to find the others. And those that can't stand the heat, they're not ready. So it's a
Exactly.
perfect filter system.
It is. Yeah. It definitely functions that way for sure.
Yeah. And so what I notice on the channel now, there's people dwindling away, and the views are getting less and less and less. But the ones that are commenting are the diehards.
Yeah.
Been here for a long time, seen it all, and know where I'm coming from, and they don't feel offended by anything. In actual fact, they feel a little bit of joy that at least someone's got the balls to say it, because there's
Yeah.
so much mediocre shit that's out there, and everyone's petrified of losing a subscriber. It's absolutely shocking, isn't it?
I often find joy in your ranty anger videos. I'm laughing along as you're
Yeah, well,
mocking the Muppets and
at the end of the day, uh, they. I'm in a parody. I'm in a parody of myself. I'm exaggerating everything,
mm.
and
Sometimes I wonder if you've had a few too many of the Newcastle Browns when you make them.
well, invariably not. Invariably, I had a drink. But I do know if I've had a couple of Newcastle Browns, then then I will go a little bit further. I will go a little
Yeah.
further. But it's kind of like I don't think I give anybody any reason to take me serious. Um, it's not like I am trying to convey myself as a serious scholar or anything because I build castles and I knock them down in the same day. And I'm not building anything for any of the viewers to marvel at and to cling to and hold close to their heart. No, I will show them something, and in the other hand, I will destroy it. And so
Hmm.
it's kind of like, no, 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 no. Why do you do that? I'm like, well, look, if you haven't captured what I've been illustrating to you, then you know, you can't be carrying around my castles in the air with you all over the place. You know, when these Buddhists they're creating these mandalas with coloured sand, and some of
Oh,
them,
yeah, you were talking about that in the video.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
six people around, and some of them take days or weeks. In the instant when it's finished, they just all put their hands in like that because the finished product means nothing.
Yeah.
It was the meditation, the joy, and the presence of creating that what it was all about.
Yeah.
Ah,
I understand that as an artist myself.
right. So what uh, realm of artistry are you in then?
I paint. I I make jewelry.
Right.
I tried to do that as a business. Actually, it was kind of like terrible timing and not enough effort. But I was trying to sell some of my jewelry, and I work with like gemstones and
Mm,
that kind of stuff. So it's beautiful jewelry.
yeah.
And yeah, trying to think of other things that I do regularly. Not as often. I do other crafty things,
Yeah.
build,
So you
create.
have an artistic flair um,
Yeah.
for things. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's certainly um, an advanced state of consciousness.
Hmm.
You know, creating music and paintings and sculptures and anything that's artistic, you're doing something new and novel. Well,
Yeah.
that's what consciousness is all about. We are exercising our godliness, and that's the God in us all.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
interesting how I create art because sometimes I just go with it and it becomes what it is. But other times I have the finished product in my mind
Ah,
as an image, and then I just create it from that finished image.
right.
So it's almost like someone's sending me, the pattern or the
Yeah.
blueprints.
Well, Beethoven always used to say that his um, sonnets came to him in dreams, or he'd just have a vision in his mind eye. He sees these sonnets completely written out, and all he needed to do was copy them down.
Mhm.
Michelangelo, when chipping away at one of his incredible sculptures, someone famously says, "How do you know which bits to chip away?" And he says, "Well, the sculpture's already in there. All I've got to do is just chip off the bits on the outside."
Mhm.
So, like you saying, he was already sent it.
Mhm.
Now, there's another instance of a young girl painting, and she was only about 9 years old, and she was painting these most incredible, lifelike portraits that they had life coming off the canvas, And the interviewer says, "So how did you learn to do that?" And she said, I didn't learn to do it.
Yeah, she just knew.
And the interviewer said, well, how do you do it then? She went, God.
Oh,
God,
wow.
God helps me. God does
Yeah.
it through me. And so we know they call these people savants, don't they? When people
Yeah.
have got incredible skills, how do they do that? Where does that come from? That's
Yeah.
always,
We're just
the,
born with it.
yeah, just born with it.
Yeah.
And so,
Because I didn't have to, like, I didn't go to school to learn how to paint or make jewelry. I just started doing it.
mm,
And then I would look up techniques and skills, but nobody ever taught me how to do those things. Even singing, like, I am a hobby vocalist as well. And
right,
I've never taken a lesson, but
uh,
I was just born with a
yeah,
beautiful voice. So I was fortunate in that.
yeah, yeah.
And I can mimic other people, so I can sound like
Right,
plenty of other artists. So it's interesting too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's incredible. And I wouldn't be so demeaning to my viewers, jousting with them, trying to encourage them to say, well, I'm this and I'm that then. And I'm like, are you? Well, let's have a look then. Show me some of your work, sing me one of your songs, send me one of your pictures. You know, what is it with you people that you don't have the capacity? You see, you can do lots of things, but unless I was like, well, fucking come on, then. Unless I was like that, we wouldn't be here today.
No,
And so,
no,
how many other people are brilliant at lots of things? And I have no awareness of that because they don't put nothing down. Why don't they put anything down? What prevents them from doing that? That's something I can't comprehend. When people say, "Oh, I'm just an easygoing, I'm just relaxing," I'm like, no, no, I'm not. I'm not settled with that. There's much more to it. I want to know about your childhood. I want to know about now how you're so reserved because there's something deep down which has got a hold of you, and you're not strong enough to break free from that. Obviously that doesn't answer all of them. Some people may just like, oh, just don't give a fuck about engaging on fucking YouTube and putting comments down. They've got better things to do. Yeah, but you see, I say to them, well, you've not got too much better to do because you're always watching my fucking videos. So you can't have too much better to do. So whilst you're watching them, then you can put a few fingers on the fucking keyboard. And I'm like, well, yeah, I just think you're weak then, or you're embittered, or
I think it's fear for a lot of people.
yeah, you are one of these people that I'm always calling. You are a muppet. You are a numpty. Um, but we all have to start somewhere, and that's the thing. And so I don't have any maliciousness. I'm not that way inclined. I'm just fucking with people. I'm fucking with people day and night just to see what the response is. And because I'm so comfortable and settled with just this that's going on, every single one of my viewers can leave tomorrow and I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I wouldn't even feel the loss in the slightest. I just wouldn't. I'm not that sort of person.
Yeah, and you don't have an attachment to the people that you don't know
Yeah,
that are watching you. Like you
yeah,
say, they could be bots. They could be anything. So
yeah.
yeah,
And
there's an
those that
attachment to you.
do know me, well, we don't have to have an attachment to each other. I mean, people that continue to watch me, they're watching me for their reasons,
Hmm.
and they're nothing to do with me because I don't even know what their reasons are.
Right.
And it's not like, oh, can you do more of this, Aaron? Or, can you say less of that? Or, I like your videos because this. No, none of that goes on. Just people keep showing up, showing up, showing up, and it doesn't matter what I say or do. And I'm like, I've tried for years to fucking get rid of you all. Honestly, I have. No one's tried harder on the internet.
I I think that's probably true.
Mm. Goodness me. So you had a few little bits and bobs down that you wrote over on your left there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, you kind of touched on something I was going to talk about when you mentioned, well, we sort of both talked about it, just being born the way we are
Mm.
with, you know, I don't know, a connection to spirit, whatever you want to call it, an awareness of our consciousness. And people that are awakening, they always come up with a timeline, like a milestone that they mark when they woke up. Like you
Right.
say, for you, it's been 17 years,
Yeah.
and I say 10. But I was wondering and thinking about it a lot lately, is it just from birth for us?
Well,
Like, should we just be saying that we're awakened and we've always been awakened? It's just that we're getting better at it and like seeing more and using the powers differently or the energies.
yeah. I think what we're doing is we are borrowing from the general parlance of the time. Um, you know, the whole when did you fall down the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Well, you ask yourself, well, what is this rabbit hole thing? Well, it's when Dorothy fell down the rabbit hole into another world. And,
Alice.
I
Yeah.
remember when that happened, I was absolutely shocked to my core. All of the stuff, the Planet X, Nibiru, the
Yeah.
underground bunkers, the Illuminati, the lizards, the aliens, and shapeshifters. Nothing's real and never has been. And oh my god, um, honestly, to this day, I'm still shell shocked.
Yeah.
Because all that happens is everything I learn more, it just takes me so far out from being convinced of anything at all.
Right. Yeah. So that seems to be the milestone marker then for most people. And when they start tracking their awakening is when they start seeking the truth of the world and seeing through all the lies.
Yeah.
That's what I figure too for most people. That's when they start tracking it. But I think that I'm starting to think that it should just be our entire lives.
Well, I speak about that I was never alone in
Right.
my
Yeah.
traveling all around the world. No, I've got a problem with that. Doesn't matter. I can go anywhere, literally anywhere, into war-torn zones, anywhere. Not
Yeah.
batting an eyelid, never fearing because fear wasn't a part of my genetic makeup. It just wasn't. Why wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
I always was protected,
Yeah. I felt
connected,
like that as well.
protected. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about that.
Yeah.
All the
I've never felt like I'm alone and I'm always protected because I'm a
yeah,
huge klutz. I've always been a klutz
right.
because I live in my head more than reality a lot of the time. I'm thinking too much. And when I do that, I just like walk into door frames or walls or smash into the coffee table. So I've always been a klutz like that. And randomly I'll just fall or trip over something. But I've never broke a bone. I've never had a serious injury. Even when I've had the seizures, like we talked about, I'm
Yeah,
always protected. Something keeps me safe,
yeah,
always.
yeah. And so, I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to say it without giving you something that's not your words and not your feeling. Um, so let me say, what feelings have you had that have shown you that you're not alone and that you are protected? How's that made manifest? Other than you've never hurt yourself,
Oh, well, I'm at the point now where I can almost like have conversations with whoever's with me. I can
right?
ask them questions and I just get answers.
Right.
So, and I've a few years back, I guess probably just before I started going down the rabbit hole, I started getting synchronicities constantly and seeing. So my thing is the number 23. I see it like 200 times a day.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
All different sorts of things go on like
Mm,
that. That they 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 tell us. It's kind of like my whole thing was like when the ego imploded. Um, I went to ground zero. I was in ground zero. Super dark night of the soul, depression, tired all the time, crying at every movie. Let all of my so-called friends and everything, just let it all go. And guided every single step of the way, every
yeah,
single day, guided into an old bookstore, guided into a walk here or there, and every time you go any of these places, it's kind of like, oh, that's why you brought me here. You
yeah,
wanted to show me that. And in one instant, I write about it in the book. Uh, I'm in Fuerteventura, one of the Spanish Canary Islands, of which I think there's 9. And this is where this is what Christopher Columbus came upon, on his epic journey. So I climbed this mountain, very, very dangerous mountain it was, with razor sharp volcanic rocks and everything. And it took me about 3 hours to get to the top. And other than just being up there in the middle of nowhere, away from everybody, and having a beautiful meditation for about 45 minutes and completely losing myself because you don't hear a single sound. There's not many places on the world where you can go where you don't have a single sound. And even in countries, there's always a freaking light aircraft up in the sky somewhere because we're so overpopulated. But you go onto an
yeah,
island out in the Pacific, and it's a tiny little nothing island, ain't nothing buzzing around, up in the sky. So there's that incredible level of nothingness and connection to everything. So I was up there and I was just sitting down, drinking a bit of water and admiring the view. And then I noticed there was something crawling on my toe, and I looked down and it was a fly. And I went, "What are you doing up here in this god-forsaken place?" It literally looked like somewhere you'd expect to see on Mars, there, because all the rock was splintered, razor sharp boulders that fell out the sky millions of years ago in one of the volcano eruptions, and they're
mm,
all splintered in the heat over the years, and there's nothing there, no
yeah. So there's no
moisture,
life there
no
for the
life
fly.
there, and yet
No,
there was a fly there. And I said to the fly, "What the fuck are you doing up here?" And when I was watching it crawl on my big toe, I noticed that there was a tiny little blue flower, a 5-petaled flower, and it was blowing, moving. Its gentle little wings, it looked like it was about to take flight. And it was only life form like that I'd seen all the way up there, except one cactus plant. And I got down to look at it, this tiny, beautiful, delicate little baby blue flower. And I knew at that instant that's why I was brought there,
mm,
to
just to see the
receive
flower.
that message, just to see that life, just to know that, hey, awake and brave, I'm going to get you to climb this mountain, right? Just to show you something, show you one isolated, lonely little flower, which the chances are is never going to get pollinated, never going to meet a friend. It's just going to live and it's just going to die. But you're going to see it because I'm
Yeah,
going to
and
take
nobody else will.
nobody else there, nobody
Yeah,
else in the whole universe,
yeah,
just me. And that was a wow moment for me. That was a real big deal. And
yeah,
then you see, I attach that with other things that I know about these levels of mysticism. in Jewish Kabbalah, they write about something called sparks. And these sparks are what we awoken, enlightened beings are supposed to be doing all of our lives. And we who are enlightened are the only ones that know we should be doing this. And how do we know it? Because we're told telepathically. And we are shown these things that wouldn't mean anything to anybody else. But when we see them, we know that that's one of the sparks that I was sent to gather up. And what we're
Yeah.
supposed to do, you see, because the mythology of this is that in the beginning, the God that created everything kind of like exploded and shattered its shards of light all around the cosmos. And it's the enlightened human being's job to, like Humpty Dumpty, bring all the pieces back together again.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's a real personal thing. We've got
Mhm.
this spiritual job to do. It's a wonderful, beautiful job. And we never know. We can go to the ends of the earth and we'll get one of these. And we can
Yeah.
have the most terrible experience. And we may be given to cursing, but then we'll get one of these sparks and we will be told, you don't be cursing anything. You don't know what's going on here. You just keep vigilant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you know that this thing called life is just super incredible, and it's just beyond any level of conception. So I listen to audiobooks and I read books, all different sorts of ancient spiritual people, and I'm on a spate of Maimonides these days, a Jewish mystic of 1100s and super renowned and intellectual and you know had fingers in pies with all different levels of stuff, you know, like proper polymath. People are just so genius. It's incomprehensible how they manage to write whole, you know, hundreds of books literally in their time. But people like that, and I listen to what they say, and I know intuitive what they say is true. And so what I'm always saying is when we are in this space, we share that information
Yeah. It
because
makes
it's,
perfect sense.
yeah, it's
Because
just a
that's how I feel with you as well. Like when you talk about things, I already know it.
yeah, you already
Yeah.
know it. It's a
Yeah.
conscious vibration, and
Yeah.
you know, lots of people say, "Well, we didn't come here to learn because we already knew it all. We just came
Yeah.
to remember."
And to experience.
Yeah, to experience and to remember,
Yeah.
and maybe to forget also. You
Possibly.
know,
Yeah.
because if we are ultimately God, and I believe we are, then being dismantled into, you know, gazillions of shards sounds perfectly feasible to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
At this point, anything is feasible, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry if you can hear that. My neighbor's noisy.
No, I can't hear anything.
Okay, good.
But little things like where we get the lessons. I don't have any human contact um, because they're far too disappointing. But the universe sends me something else where it knows it can communicate with me. It knows it can extract a certain something. It knows it can show me that which I have doubted and shunned all of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what it is. And so when I'm with one of my little friends, the absolute joy and the love and the eternity of
Yeah.
that connection, it's such a wonderful, incredible thing. And every day I go out into the garden and I just ask, where is she? And then sometimes it can take 5 minutes for her to come. She's heard me.
Yeah.
And then I'll see one of the trees in the far distance, you know, agitated. She's feverishly jumping from one branch to the next to the next. And then she'll come running up the wall or she'll jump onto the fence and then she'll look at me. And we've got eye contact. And I go, there she is. and
Yeah.
her tail's waggling and all this, and it's an incredible thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. I suppose it's on the level of being in love when you've got that contact with the human being and the excitement and, just a call and you're all excited and you can't wait to see each other.
Yeah. It's like that state of pure joy without any of the
Yeah,
baggage yet.
yeah, yeah. And so the thing is, there's no baggage,
Right. Yeah.
with,
With animals, yeah, we don't get that.
yeah,
Mm.
because they don't lend themselves to that.
No.
And so I look at that and I go, well, there's just this miracle thing that's happening all the time. And I go out, at dawn, and I go out at dusk, to feed her and just to be with the birds and the animals and just to listen and just to watch her, how she responds to all the different animals. She knows all their language. She knows
Yeah.
everything what they're saying. She has an innate ability to decipher everything because I've seen her go like this and Providence also when I never heard nothing
Yeah.
that would indicate that there's a predator around, and yet she's heard it from a robin or a magpie. you
Mm.
know, something like that. There's lots of magpies and crows around here and everything. They know exactly what they're saying. And so she's on red alert, and then she'll bolt, and then she'll start. She's giving a sign to the other
Yeah.
squirrels.
She's wanting, yeah. She's
Yeah.
passing on
I'm
the
like,
message.
how did you
Yeah.
know? But now I'm like, oh, I know how you know, because I've been out in nature so quiet and so calm for so long. I know they have different intonations throughout the whole of the year, changing all the time. And I know that they have distress calls. A robin would have a distress call about a cat to other robins,
Yeah.
no
For
doubt
sure.
about it.
Yeah.
Magpies and ravens and jackdaws and everything. They've all got their thing. And so squirrels know them. They know.
Hmm.
And so you enter into a completely different world, and it's a beautiful world. It's an absolutely,
Yeah.
it's an amazing world. It's like any of these Walt Disney movies that we can watch. We see the beauty. We see the depth, the sheer depth, and the connection of all flora and fauna, uh,
Yeah.
like the fairy tales that they are. They're enchanting because everything is enchanting. And when
Hmm.
you become consciously awoken, you enter into that enchanting world.
Yeah.
And then you don't need humans anymore. Humans is like, it's probably one of the last things you'd ever choose.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I,
For
you
most
know,
things. For most things, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I enjoy conversations like this,
Hmm.
um, but if I didn't have them, I wouldn't miss them. It's
No.
it's a curious thing, and if I lost the connection to Gaia, I feel that.
Yeah.
And when I was listening to Maya Modernies, um, this person speaking about what he said, you see, these Jewish mystics, they were very, very highly tuned
Mm.
into the natural world and all of the spiritual literature, the studying and everything. And they knew exactly what was going on. So I've listened to people like that, and I listened to people like Jesus, and I listened to people like Plato, I listened to people like Plotinus, and on and on and on and on. And I'm looking for the bit where they are talking about what the pure essence of life is. And they will all tell you it's that deep rooted, peaceful connection with everything. And
Mm.
once you know what that is, that's it.
Yeah.
That's enlightenment. And I've heard so many people speak about this space, and I go, well, there's nothing more to hear. I've heard them all speak about that space. I know what that space is.
Mm-hmm.
And you see what Maimonides was saying. He was saying, if you really want to know God, then you concentrate on God and you put everything else aside and you concentrate and concentrate and concentrate. And then ultimately you will become that which you concentrate on. So therefore you will become God through your knowledge of God, because everything is only knowledge. Because it's kind of like, if you look at a car, your knowledge of a car is your consciousness of a car. So the car is only what your consciousness tells you it is. People could say, no, it's a physical thing out there. No, it's not. It's not a physical thing out there. It's a conscious
Yeah.
construction. Because without consciousness, it wouldn't be there. And so therefore, everything is from the construct of consciousness. So if you want to know God, then, well, the Buddhists will tell you that you meditate, you meditate, you meditate, you meditate. They won't tell you to concentrate on God because they don't believe in God. They tell you to empty your mind. It's the same thing. When you empty your mind, you will end up in the presence of God, which is awareness. You can't get beyond awareness. So that's what they're all saying in their own way. And that's what I know to be true. And if I try to tell this to people like I do in lots of my videos, deaf ears, deaf ears, deaf ears. They're not
Yeah.
ready for it. You need to be of a
You have
certain...
to sorry. You have to have experienced it to understand it.
Yeah, you have to have the veil removed
Yeah.
to have felt it and to have seen it and to have intuited it. Then you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And then you know when you're slipping away from it. And in recent years, I've slipped away from it. From when I was living down in the Algarve, I was walking on those beautiful golden beaches for hours and hours every single day, out the way of everything, just walking on the water's edge and observing everything. Well, I was in the deepest presence of cosmic consciousness, and I was doing a lot of DMT also. And so DMT takes you instantly into that God consciousness state of mind. But since coming back, then I've noticed I've been slipping away, and I've been more drawn into making stupid videos, chastising people, and clowning around and things like that. And I think to myself, well, it's the only form of human interaction I have. If I didn't have this, then I would lose myself. And I've been there before. And like Friedrich Nietzsche says, when you look into the abyss will look back at you. And I've been into such a deep state of this so-called oneness, where the whole meaning of life, the purposeless of it, it just falls away. And I couldn't physically be bothered to do anything, nothing at all. Just didn't mean anything to me. All I wanted to do was just to walk around and roam and be in a dream. And I made lots of videos, and they're on this channel. Um, when I was in Portugal, and I was in this apathetic state, and I had like one foot very, very firmly in the cosmic spiritual realm of nothingness. And I had a tiptoe still in Humansville. And it's kind of like, if I let go of all reality, you lose it. Because there's nothing for you mentally to hang around for, you know?
Yeah.
And so it is potentially very dangerous. Because once you stop functioning, then you go into some sort of psychosis. And that's when Nietzsche said, when you look into the abyss long and hard enough, the abyss will look back to you.
Yeah. I'll stare back at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we've experienced what people have said, and you know these things to be true, then there's a fine line. There is a very fine line.
Yeah.
Because I could go away and talk to no human beings, but the more you do that, you lose your humanity. And
Yeah.
very, very quickly, when I've been in this state of mind, I just feel like, weather permitting, just taking all the clothes off. I don't want these clothes on.
Yeah.
You know, I want to live in a bivouac, or, somewhere built out of sticks and leaves, and maybe like a squirrel's dray. I want the scent of it. I want the fustiness. I want the dampness. I want all that. And every sparkle of light is just incredible. You're mesmerized. It's an absolute miracle. So I know what these people have been speaking about.
Hmm.
And so I've come back from that because you can't function there.
No. But you can visit.
Yeah, you can visit, and I suppose it's like lots of things. If you get out of touch with it, it take you a while to get back in. You've got to
Yeah.
get back into that vibration again. Now I'm in a very, very mental vibration.
Okay.
The mental vibration is great too.
Yeah.
That of philosophy and
Yeah.
spiritual um, literature and scripture, studying all that. Yeah, that's one level. That's one level, and it's great working out all the pieces. But
Yeah.
that isn't, that's only talking about it, you see. And the vast majority of people talk about it and they've never actually experienced it.
Yeah. Like
So,
there were a few years where I did that, where you're in the mental phase and you want to learn everything. But
yeah.
yeah, then you realize you have to start experiencing it. You can't just learn without the experience. It's the way to completely learn something. You have
But,
to, like, you can read it, but you have to also experience it, whatever that means for the context of what you're learning, right? Like for myself as well, I consider myself like an amateur scientist, because if I have a chance to do an experiment, I'll do it. Like in anything, like cooking or cleaning, like just gardening. Like I love gardening. I garden on my balcony of my apartment.
right.
And that is an amazing chance to perform experiments, to learn from experience, so
Yeah.
that I'm not listening to some jackass on YouTube that thinks he knows the answer when I've done the experiment myself. And over years of doing it, I've discovered that no, you're wrong. And then this person copied you, so they're wrong. Like you said with the squirrel,
Yeah,
the knowledge,
exactly.
the information about the squirrels is just not accurate, because
It's
everyone just
all wrong.
parrots what
It's
they heard,
all
and they
wrong.
don't do experiments to figure out what they're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so when we do these first-hand experiences, then we have a reality. But what I will say about these realities, um, it's not like, because nature won't be contained, and this is why at the quantum level, the experimentation breaks down. Because what the quantum physicists tell us is that, well, it's like consciousness knows what we're doing and it keeps shifting the goalposts
Yeah, like the double
because it
slit.
doesn't give us the same thing every time. It's
Yeah,
random.
yeah,
And so, for instance, I started to grow some acorns
hmm,
to, produce some beautiful oaks. And out of, say, like 200 acorns, I had about 25 successes. And then out of those 25, there's only 3 or 4 which look like they're going to be in stand the test of time. And when you think about the age of oaks, potentially 1,500 years old, well,
yeah,
those that make it are one in a million. And so I've watched all these acorns. I've watched them grow really strong. Watched them grow really weak. I've watched them wither and die. I've watched them not do anything at all. And there's so many things in nature. And it doesn't necessarily pertain to ideal conditions either. It's just like some are meant to be, some are
Yeah.
destined, and others are not. And
Yeah.
so, if we have 10 people doing experiments, if they say, look, well, we've got these 10 acorns each from the same tree, and we're going to go and grow our acorns, the chances are there'll be nothing remotely similar with any of them. And you ask the
Yeah.
question, well, why was that? And so, what I say about that is, I say, well, look, it's like quantum physicists. They say consciousness interferes with the experiment. So
Okay.
you
Yeah.
see, the double slit experiment. I don't
Yeah.
know
The
when.
double slit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
consciousness collapses the wave function into
Yeah.
particles because the particles know they're being observed.
Right.
Our consciousness is all different, and our consciousness is going to interact with different plants and this that, and the other. People say to me, "A squirrel would never come to me." How come
Yeah.
you've had two squirrels come to you
Yeah.
in almost exactly the same way? Absolutely confident and free, and it's natural, just
Yeah.
completely natural.
Yeah. Just completely trusted you and asked you for help
Yeah,
in both cases. Yeah. That's crazy
and
that that happened twice.
yes,
Yeah.
it's astounding.
Like the odds are very slim that that would ever happen to anybody else.
Yeah, I can't work it out why it is because I've looked after many sick animals and never have any of the animals given me instant trust. It's
Okay.
not a natural thing to do with all other animals what I've experienced except these squirrels. These
See,
squirrels they seem to have a level of consciousness which absolutely no.
yeah. Well, see, I find that with cats. Like for me, I'm a huge cat person and they love me. Like I I actually made a lioness purr in her cage at a zoo just by walking up to the fence. And I didn't even know that lioness would purr like a cat, like a
Right.
house cat.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And I've always had a connection with cats. So
Yeah.
I've never had one that's like even put its back up to me or didn't trust me. They just always come right to me.
Yeah.
And I
Uh,
wonder what it is about us that they know. Like, how do
yes.
they know?
Yeah. What is it? So when I've always been a cat person, by the way. Absolutely love cats. I'm
Yeah.
not big into dogs.
No, I'm the same.
I love cats.
Yeah.
But I, traveling all around the world and going with guides and people and just doing things that people don't do, and they've all said to me, animals like you.
Yeah.
They're very very comfortable with you.
Yeah.
And
Like
one of my
dogs love me too, but I just don't really care for them.
yeah. Yeah, no, I pet all the dogs. All the dogs know me, all
Yeah.
the streets
Like
around.
I like dogs enough, but like they're not.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not into. They don't have that level of beauty and cuteness, and
And
they're
just
one of
the
the
complexity of a cat. Like they're a perfect predator. Like they were created by God for sure
yeah
as a predator, you know? And they're dogs to me are just like a lower life form than a cat, basically.
yeah. Yeah, of course, the Egyptians revered cats. They didn't
Yeah,
revere dogs,
exactly.
and lots of other countries around the world have
They even
revered.
had a dog-faced God and they still loved cats more.
Yeah, yeah, the Sphinx. Uh, yeah, very, very iconic. So, what I thought about this session, we'd keep it to 2 hours so it doesn't get too exhausting, and
Right?
people shy away from the
We'll
video.
watch it. Yeah.
4 hours, it's people like, oh, I'm never going to watch it all, so there's no point. So,
Yeah.
if we continue for 30 more minutes, if you're all right with that.
Sure. Yeah.
and then we'll wrap it up on 2 hours. So, what about other fragments of things that you wanted to talk about?
Um. So you mentioned something in one of your videos, or you've talked about it a few times, how there's no like universal language. But I think you're wrong on that because I say that body language is a universal language. It's just a lot of people don't bother to learn it.
But then that also is left to interpretation.
It's true, it is. But you can communicate with people that don't speak your language with body language pretty
Yeah,
accurately for basic stuff, right? And it can be a more complex language if you understand it more, but you're right, it is open to interpretation as well. So I guess
yeah.
it's
Well,
like a
the thing is about the human being, I feel, is our body language. On the one hand, is so contrived, and on the other hand, is so inhibited that we don't allow to display our emotions or our
true.
feelings via our signaling for the body because we want to keep it all, to ourselves, and we don't want to reveal anything.
Right. Yeah,
So,
like a lot of people wear masks to hide
yeah,
what's really going on. So
a
it
lot
is
of
hard to interpret body language on a deeper level. But I think for like basic communication, like if you're dropped into a country and you don't speak their language and you need to ask them like where a bathroom is, like you can, get the body language enough to get an answer to get to the bathroom, you know?
talk to anyone. Just look at someone, and you look at who is walking in the most relieved and free condition. Assume that they've obviously just come from the bathroom, so they
Right.
go over that direction. People walking tight arsed, and you think, well, they're looking for the bathroom, so I'm not going to be. Yeah, the whole thing about human communication um, is that we do not even mean the same thing when we are saying words because most of us haven't learned really what the words mean. We're not
Right.
philologists. We haven't studied language. All we've done is we've copied other people when we first heard them. And if they use them in the wrong context, then we go through our whole lives doing that, thinking that that's right. And so nobody even is speaking what they are actually meaning. And there's just been so many times when I have to say to people that I'm engaged with, I have to question everything. What do they mean by
Mm.
that? And then what do they mean by that? And then in context, what do they mean by that? And people find that immensely frustrating because they assume that we all know, everybody knows what we mean by that. No,
Yeah.
know we all have a subliminal meaning of our own. And so even if we were speaking to people who are pretty educated, we couldn't know what they really were trying to say. And so this is one of the reasons I like listening to Jordan Peterson, because Jordan Peterson is always saying, well, what do you mean by that?
Hmm.
What's your definition of that? Where are you
Yeah.
coming from with that? What's your biases in relation to that? What's your angle with that?
Yeah.
There's a billion connotations to all these things. And so these days I'm listening, very acutely to people who are supposed to be intelligent, and very, very few people um, have a complete design as to what they want to say. And it's only those that do when they have very, very, very methodically worked something out.
Hmm.
And so, what have always said now since writing my book, you will only have something to say when you've written a book, because it wouldn't be until you have actually tried to come to put your words down and you question everything you're saying, and you are checking out what all the words mean because you have to.
Yeah.
You've got to do so much stuff. And then when you've wrote something down, you read it and it doesn't make that much sense. And so you rewrite it and you rewrite it and you rewrite it. And then you can get packages which help you reword things. And sometimes that helps and other times it doesn't. And you have to ask yourself, what do I really want to say? And to what audience do I really want to say? Because there's different
Yeah.
levels at which we speak at. So I said in my book, in the opening chapter, in the preface, I believe it was, I said, look, I'm speaking about a bunch of experiences here, and hopefully I'm speaking to people who have had similar experiences. Otherwise, there'll be no point in you reading this book
Yeah.
because it'll just be stories and they won't mean anything.
Mm.
But you see, when you came upon my chapter on dreams, all of a sudden you felt an affinity with that
Yeah.
because you'd experienced something and you thought about it.
Yeah.
And if anybody is going to benefit from that book, then they have to have experience in whatever particular chapter, and then they have to really, really read between the lines to see what I am saying and feel my experience, and then they make a comparison to theirs, and they
Yeah.
see if there's any similes there, if they think anything it doesn't fit, or if they think maybe that there's something wrong in what I'm saying or something wrong in what they're saying. So we have to do this.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we have to conclude, well, our subjective experience is our subjective experience. And there can't be no wrong in that. It
Yeah.
is what it is. And so that's the thing. We get into these realms where um, it becomes preposterous to try to communicate with someone through language. And this is why that the only true way of communicating, and it isn't 100% um, convincing, is math. So this is
Yeah.
why
And I
science,
hate math. Math
yeah,
is my weakness.
but you see, that's the language scientists speak.
Yeah, it is,
And,
but
and
that's my biggest weakness in school. It was math. Like I could do it, the basic math. I got through it in advanced math even, but
yeah,
it was never my
it wasn't my
thing.
thing. I
Yeah.
look at numbers and I go, that's not my thing.
Like I preferred English. English was my favorite subject in school. So
Yeah. And so something we can feel.
yeah.
And that's the whole thing about it, you see. And so these mathematicians, they tell us, for instance, like Einstein told us that energy equals mass.
Yeah.
Now, I'm like, if energy equals mass, energy is indistinguishable from mass. Energy isn't physical. Therefore, mass isn't physical either.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the world isn't physical. Now, I've never ever heard anyone say that. I've never heard anyone interpret that in layman's terms, just like I did with my what I consider to be logical, rational thinking.
Right. Exactly.
It just seems so obvious to me, but all mathematicians, they'd see all the intricacies of
Yeah,
this.
they'd have like a blackboard filled with the math of what you just said.
Yeah,
Like we get it on a spiritual level or just a deeper understanding, but we couldn't do the blackboard
yeah.
that
So
they do.
what I'm going to be speaking to AI about very soon. I spoke to AI a little bit about this subject. I'm going to be saying, I want you to search all of your archives, high and low. I want you to dig out anyone who has pointed out that Einstein told the world that there's no physical matter. Because
Yeah.
that's effectively what he did,
Mhm.
and nobody's ever questioned that. As far as what I can see, or most certainly not in the mainstream. And so I'm hoping that there's been some obscure, brain boxes here and there that I'm going to be, learning something from. But I'm going to think about what that means before I go in, because I don't want just to say to myself, "Oh, I already knew that." No, I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to lay whatever I think before myself, and then I'm going to go in and
Yeah.
see what other people have had to say about these things. And I've done this with many subjects so far, and the AI always tell me, yeah, there's been a few people that have touched on this, that, and the other, but they've not formulated a fuller picture like what you have.
Yeah.
I'm like, how's that possible?
I wonder if they did, but they just like you said, dumbed it down for the masses, so they didn't like the rest didn't come with their message into. I know that's more relevant than for past philosophers and things like that than more current people, but you figure to get there, don't you have to go through that entire thought process? Like, don't you have to look at it deeper?
You would
Like
have
I
thought
do,
so.
you do.
Yeah, you would have thought so.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it has to be there. Are they just not sharing that part, or did it get lost in translation? Like,
yeah, is it kind of like um, if someone takes an early morning stroll along the beach at the water's edge, they can talk about how the sun was rising and how the wind was coming off the ocean. They can talk about the seagulls squawking, and they can talk about the starfish washed up on the beach, but they'll never mention their wet feet.
and that's the first thing I would mention because I hate sandy, wet feet.
I love my feet in the sand, and so maybe the poet writing about that would just go, well, that's elementary. It's even too elementary even to bother um, commenting. But I would say no. I would say
Yeah.
absolutely. When you walk on the
Like,
beach, that
that's a
is the
part
most.
of the experience that
It's the
is
most
important.
important part,
Yeah.
because if anybody walks on the beach with shoes on, they ain't walking on the fucking beach, and they shouldn't be there. They really shouldn't be there, because the whole experience about walking on the
Yeah.
beach is getting your feet in the sand and in the water. Then
Yeah.
you're walking on the beach, aren't you? Otherwise, you're not walking on the beach. You're walking on rubber or plastic.
Right. Yeah.
And so that in itself, just look at it like that. Look at it from a real perspective. If someone says, "Oh, I had a walk on the beach," and I said to them, "Were you wearing shoes?" and they went, "Yeah," and I would say, "Well,
No, you didn't.
you never walked on the beach then." And they go, "What are you talking about, you idiot?" Oh, and then they say, "Oh, this is why I hate you, because you always twist everything." No, I'm not
Yeah.
twisting nothing. What I'm doing is I'm inspecting what you've said. You said you walked on the beach. And if you really walked on the beach, you would have experienced the beach. How would you have experienced the beach? With all of your senses. And the
Yeah.
main one in the bottom of your feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all these different sorts of
It's
ways.
almost like they can only focus on one sense at a time.
Yeah.
So if they're looking at the sunset, they're not hearing the waves, they're not hearing the birds, they're not
No.
feeling their feet or the wind on their
Yeah.
body.
It's like their consciousness is so restricted.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you've ever heard me say, because I've said it lots of times in my videos. When I was walking with people down in the Algarve, I would ask them all, because we would always be super engaged in philosophy and all that different sorts of stuff when we're walking down the streets towards the beach. And then when we get down the concrete steps onto the beach, there's often a boardwalk there. So you start walking on the boardwalk. And then when we come to the end of the boardwalk, um, we always took our sandals off, and we stepped into the sand and enjoyed that. And I was never with anyone that didn't want to do that. That was the first thing we did, because we were intent on experiencing it. But when we started walking and we were talking, and I'd say, "Oh, let me just ask you a question. Where's your consciousness right now?" And then they go, "Well, what we were just speaking about." I said, "Where else?" um, the clear blue sky and the sun on the beach, looking around like this, and I'm like, anything else? Think more. more closer to home? What experience are you having? Yeah, standing here talking to you in Portugal, and it's kind of like this. And I said, well, what about the sensation in your feet? And then it's kind of like, oh yeah, well, of course that. And I said, well, you can't just go, oh yeah, that's so elementary, Aaron, because you never
Yeah.
said it. Your consciousness wasn't there. You thought it was, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then
It
people can
wasn't
get cut.
fully there.
So the thing is, every time I were walking anywhere, I'm always present in the whole of my body, feeling,
Yeah.
aches and pains here and there, soreness of muscles here and there,
Yeah.
lightness, heaviness, feeling my feet in a certain shoe and this, that, and the other. And then, you take your shoes off and you put them on the sand. And it's kind of like, oh, you go back to primal man, to
Yeah.
that essence of connection to Gaia. And it's just like, wow. And then you go down and you put your feet in the cool water and it's ecstasy all over again. And then you walk on the soft, fluffy, warm sand, the dry sand that's been walked in by loads of people. Then you go down to the water's edge where the tide, the last wave came in and it put a thin film of water over the soft sand and then it retreated. And that soft sand underneath has now got a crust of dried sand on top. And when you press your feet through that, it crunches through into the soft sand. Right,
Yeah.
I love that. And then when you go further into the water's edge, you get the softer sand where your foot sinks in more, and then you go into another part, and it doesn't. The water's been evaporated out of it, and there's so
Yeah.
many million textures.
Yeah.
And there's a I used to speak whole videos about my feet experiencing life. And then saying to people, when's the last time your feet had such an experience? And people in the comments, the odd one go, don't remember.
I'm betting more than half the people in the world have never had that full of an experience, that deep of an experience, where they've
Consciously.
thought about it and that they've been that aware of their body or any part of it.
No.
They're just at the beach. That's like as far as they
That's
go.
it. That's as,
Yeah.
as,
Like
as far
it's
as
just
they go.
it has to be the NPC thing, right? Like the programming says go to the beach and they're at the beach, like scrolling at the beach, like it's fucked. I don't know.
And that's,
I don't
and,
understand.
no, and that's all there is, isn't there?
Yeah.
And then they've got the phone out and they click, 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 click.
Yeah.
And they don't bother looking at anything else anymore because
No,
they don't need
because
to.
they've got the
Yeah, they've
yeah,
collected it for AI. It's kind of like that was their job. That was their
yeah,
job as NPCs, just to collect data for AI.
yeah.
And they don't even know they're doing it. I was talking to a couple of girls once at the zoo in Lanzarote, another Canary Island, and they were taking photos of the animals, spending 30 seconds or less with each one of them. And I just said, "Excuse me," they just took a photo of a giraffe. And I said, can I ask you a couple of questions about that giraffe? And I went, oh, yeah, okay then. I said, could you describe it to me? And she turned around. I said, no, 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 no. You can't look at it when you describe it. I want you to describe it from memory. And she went, it's tall. It's got a long neck. It's got long legs. The skinny. And it's got like patchy fur. I said, anything else? She went, no.
Wow.
I said, what about his big black eyes? What about the pupil that goes down like this? What about the eyelashes? What about the velvety, shorn, super smoothness of the fur? What about
Yeah.
the actual patterns? What about the big knuckles in the knees? What about the horns? What about the yellow gappy teeth? What about the breath? What about the saliva? What about the hairs all protruding around, which gives it a sensibility for things? None of that. None of
No.
that.
Yeah. Like what about how the eyes move and what
Yeah,
it's looking at?
yeah.
No,
Not a
nothing.
single thing because
No,
nobody ever stops to look
no.
or
They're
feel.
just not interested in it. Like
No.
to us, that's just data that we get to take into our consciousness, right? So we want it, we will take it.
Yeah.
We just, that's why I said in the first email I sent you that I feel like I'm just a sponge for knowledge. Like if I have a chance to learn something, I'm going to take that, because why not?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just add that into who I am. Thank you.
And so, it's so curious about the different states and expanses of consciousness. The scale is vast. It
Yeah.
really is vast. And it's not just like, some people are really, really dull and they don't absorb anything. No, some people could be fantastically in tuned to music.
Yeah.
And when they listen to anything musical, um, they absorb everything. And they know. Are you there?
Yep.
I just kind
Yeah.
of lost.
So
Oh,
here.
so there you go. Yeah. Yeah, they absorb everything
Yeah.
in relation to all the music, which we'd miss. And so they could say, "Don't you hear that? Can't you see that this is connected to that and that structures this, that, and the other?" And I'd be like, "Well, yeah, a little bit, but like," and so you know, w- I've learned not to
Yeah.
be too hard. And if I'm being hard, it's for a point, trying to get results out of somebody. But
Yeah. We
the,
all have, you know, our expertise, I guess, like our areas that we're more focused on.
yeah, and some of us have more of a gift in one realm than the next. But there
Yeah.
are a lot of people that don't have any of these gifts. They don't
Oh, yeah.
see anything about
See?
anything.
Yeah.
Um, and
And then
so
there's quite a few that have a little bit. Like you can see things about them that are maybe starting to get there. Whoop, sorry. Um,
yeah, they're
but
starting to get there, and they're putting a few pieces together, and it's kind of like, well, I, I suppose it's
but
like
I
all,
just feel like they're not intelligent enough. They're not going to get to where we are.
yeah, and that's kind of elitist, and anyone
It is.
below
Yeah.
uh, that state of consciousness would resent it.
Yeah.
And this is why, when I say, about the concentric circles, you're not in mine.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd love to ask, a bunch of them, how do they feel about that? What do they perceive about that? Is it something that they've comprehended? Is it something that they already knew?
Well,
Um,
I talked about it with my mother
right.
because I would say she's like half awake, but she doesn't want to go there. Like she sees what I've been through with it, so she doesn't really want to like surrender to it and fully let it happen. Like
Right.
she's got similar gifts with, her guides or whatever. She's got that connection with them as well. And she's got various, like what they'd call the psychic powers, that,
Mhm.
but
Does she have those legitimately?
not like a psychic, but like the same way I do, like where we can do certain things with those powers, as people call them.
Yeah, what sort of things though? What powers?
Well, I don't know. It's getting to the 2 hours, so
Yeah,
should we save that for another?
Saved by the Bell. Well, yeah, we could include
But
that.
I was talking to her about that concept of the concentric circles, and she wasn't offended by it. She actually saw it as a valid point and thought, okay, I can see that, and I'm not like near you yet.
Right.
So,
So
but
she
then she's
accepted.
like me and she's more open minded to ideas and concepts. So
Right. So
maybe the
she,
average person wouldn't accept that, but
yeah. Oh, and also maybe it helped because she was your mother.
true. Yeah.
and you have a certain love and affinity sometimes for your kids. Now, did she accept readily that she couldn't grasp some of the things that you were saying? So she knew that she was in the dark, and you was shedding some light
Yeah.
from the realm you was at.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's it, it's a kind of
And then I
curious.
would try to explain it differently, see if it would help. But like we said, she hasn't experienced it yet, so she just couldn't get there. She wasn't in that
Yeah.
circle yet, and so yeah, she can acknowledge that she's not there,
Right.
but she doesn't really want to. Like she's 73, so she doesn't
Yeah. No. I
like.
mean,
She feels like she's good with her beliefs, and she's
yeah.
happy to. Just,
Just to plod on. That's it. She's
yeah,
done.
yeah,
Doesn't want to change anything anymore.
yeah.
So just to finish off, I would always be pointing out when I see the rainbow in a bead of dew,
I'm
or
glad you brought this up because
yeah.
I wanted to as well. When
Okay.
you made that video, I was gonna say something interesting this year. I noticed in my garden, I had pests on a lot of the plants, like very small thrips. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they're like a tiny, tiny bug that eats the leaves. Anyway, so I was closely inspecting every type of leaf of all the plants that I have to see if I had the pests. But I noticed when the sun hit the leaves at a certain angle that almost all of them had that rainbow
Right.
prismatic effect to the leaves. There was
Right.
only a couple of plants that didn't have it. Tomatoes had it the most. You could really see it. It was just so beautiful. It was like they were sprinkled with fairy dust when you just looked at it at the right angle with the sun.
Yeah.
And I thought nobody else would notice that.
Yeah. It isn't that incredible
Mm-hmm.
how the world speaks to us
Yeah.
on these incredible levels, and what it does, it the more hungry we are for this sort of stuff, the
The
more
more
it
it gives us.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
and it will keep showing you all different sorts of stuff all the time. For
Bless
oh,
you.
bless me, for it's kind of like, look, I'm looking now at a plant, and I'll turn the camera around. Now, you see this plant here?
Yeah.
You see that leaf there?
Yes.
You see the shape, so you see the pattern on it?
Yep.
Yeah? Now, when we look down at this wooden plant pot,
Yeah. It's the same.
it's the same.
Yeah.
How's that? How
Yeah.
is it that if I bring this leaf down, um, I could bend it around,
Wow. It almost lines up perfectly too.
yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And it's a case of I never chose that pot um, for that.
No, it just happened that way.
It
Yeah.
just happened that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I look at it like that, and you know, eventually you know, I recognised it, and I saw
Yeah.
the similes, and then it's kind of like, how much more is there?
I know.
You know, because the cosmos is telling us every single second of the day,
Yeah.
look at me, look at
Yeah.
me. Isn't this incredible? It's like DMT. This is what DMT does. DMT is always
Okay.
showing up. DMT is always going, look at this, look at this, look at this. It,
Okay.
it's got rapid concession of things that it wants you to see. And it's always like
Well, I
jolly.
don't even need to use it then because I already do that.
Well,
Like that's just my life then.
yeah. I mean, this is what I say. I say, look, I don't need to, do these things anymore. because, like Alan Watts says, I've got the message, so I can hang up the phone.
Yeah.
Because now, because I've done so much of it, that's how I see the world now. Because it's taught me how to see the world like that.
But see, I didn't do that, but I still got there.
Right.
So
I mean, it's horses for courses, you know.
yeah, that's interesting.
But
Yeah.
what I'm saying, but I was always vigilant, and I was always noticing these things before
Okay. Yeah.
I did
It
DMT.
just like heightened the appreciation of
Yeah,
the
and
process and this.
it gives you a feeling along
Yeah.
with it, and another state of consciousness, and it's just kind of like arrows in your quiver. You
Yeah.
know, the more arrows you've got, the more useful you are as a hunter. And so, yeah,
See, that's what I think. You have a good memory, right?
yeah,
You That's a necessary component of what we are as well. Because
mhm,
I have like a photographic memory
right,
and just an amazing memory. Like I remember everything. So that's our superpower as well, that we're able to
right. Well, I'll
learn
tell
all
you
this
what,
stuff and retain it.
I'm going to be questioning you heavy
Oh.
on the book when you've got through that. And if there's any part of the book that you're not remembering, I'm going to be seriously
Well,
frowning.
photographic to a point. Like
Ah,
I'm not going to remember a page of text and what it said, you know, like
yeah. Mm. Yeah, the thing is also is you know, when we are listening to somebody or something, when we are reading, uh, if we have a mnemonic, which is a memory aid, which can help us
yeah,
remember that thing, and mnemonics mainly for the human being are experience.
yeah,
We put things in a similar category.
yeah.
And so then it's much easier to remember. And so I'm just looking at your plants on the shelf there, and you got lots of
Oh yeah.
plants like I have.
I don't know which ones you can see.
I can see them all.
So,
You got more there as well.
and then I've got some, I don't know, you can't probably see that one. Hang on.
Yeah. Oh
There's a
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
pothos there that's hanging down the ivy,
Yeah.
and a snake plant behind the.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll show you. One of them is an avocado tree that my mom grew from a seed. This
Oh
one,
right. I've been meaning to grow one of those as well.
yeah, it's growing well. It looks pretty good. And
Yeah.
then
So
a big
so
aloe, and I
so
don't know if
what?
you'll. This one will show up well, but it's a coleus, so it's got like the pink.
Right.
The leaves are just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. I think I had one of those one day. Yeah.
And I also have a couple of lemon trees that I started from seeds as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, yeah, nice. It's beautiful when
because
you've
I
got
face the south, I have a south facing apartment on the 15th floor.
right. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I get plenty of sun on my windowsills, and that's how I can garden on my balcony. It's actually funny. My garden still looks like it's July
Right.
because it's such a microclimate. Because I'm boxed in with cement on the three sides, and then it's just open in the front.
Right.
And it's all white brick.
Ah,
So yeah, so it's crazy. I'm still getting tomatoes
right.
in November.
Yeah. On the 15th floor, quite a view then you've got
Yeah.
there. Very emancipating.
Yeah. It's a busy area though, so I hate it. Like it's too noisy for me. But
Right. And is it modern down below, or is it a bit
yeah, like right across the street is a Walmart. So
yeah. Hmm. Okay. Alrighty then. So yeah, we'll wrap this one up here then.
all right.
And again, another enjoyable conversation.
Yes, yeah.
And we can go a little bit deeper next time if you like.
All right.
Uh, we can see how deep we can actually go. We can see Yeah, you see what I like to do is I like to take things as deep as we can to see what the limits are and parameters are of our consciousness in any level. So I mentioned
Okay.
to you just before we started, I'd like to know what your concept of God is, what your concept, if any,
Right.
of the afterlife is. We spoke a little bit about dreams. What about the astral world? What about your concept on psychedelics? What you've heard from people, and different states of consciousness, as i.e., terror and joy and love, and these things. I like to, listen to what you have to say about things like that.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll
All right.
start thinking about all that then.
Yeah. All righty then.
Going deeper.
Yeah. Go deeper, Nikki.
All
E-
right.
Enjoy Canada. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
country. See you
Yeah.
later. Bye.
Bye.